Welcome to the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast series. I am your host, Ann Alston, CEO and founder of ALSTNTEC LLC. And once again, it's my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. For this segment, we have a very special guest here on the program today who's also going to be giving us another spin on health and wellness, showing us how we can stay healthy and productive by keeping our skin healthy and whole. So before I bring her on the air, I would like to just take a moment to remind everyone how important it is to take care of yourself when you're running a business, or even if you're working for someone else as a professional, as we're all professionals because we all work. But as you know, we spend so much time working and less time taking care of ourselves. So if you had a chance to listen to the other health and wellness guest speakers who's on the podcast, you will notice that we also touch on stress, anxiety, organization, and how to just detox your life from all of the negative energies that we internalize on a daily basis. So with our skin being the most important organ and it's our body, it's the biggest organ we ever going to have, and it's the only one we're going to ever have. So in addition to that, just taking care of our inner self, we must also take care of our outer self. So with that, I would like to introduce to everybody Elise Littles. Elise grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and during her youth, she spent a lot of time with her grandmother, helping her out in the beauty salon. And during that time that she was there, it really gave her a new perspective, and she realized the power of those experiences, just being in a world of different type of beauty cultures, and it also formulated her building blocks that would shape her adult life later on in years. So today she's a third generation beauty consultant and founder of Skincare Fitness God's Way, which is a brand new faith-based women's ministry and small business enterprise that parlays biblical health and wellness principles with basic skin care solutions and techniques. So I'm very excited to find out more about that. In addition to her newfound business, she is also an evangelist and a skincare fitness coach, and she has been very instrumental in helping people of all ages achieve healthier looking skin and to embrace a mindful creator awareness of positive living. And you guys, I'm very big on positive anything. So just knowing that we have someone on the podcast today that's going to help us to be successful, not just in the inside, but also on the outside. And she is going to talk about her inside out mind body approach to skincare. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Elise to the program. Hello, Elise. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing fantastic, Ann, and just excited to be on the call with you. And you started off mentioning that the body's skin is the largest organ, and that is also termed the integumentary system.
Mm-hmm.
And so oftentimes people are familiar with the respiratory system and the digestive system, but are not so familiar with that strange term, integumentary system, that is the study of the skin. And so I'm really excited because having worked in the federal sector for over 20 years, I have always gone back to my roots, and it's sort of inescapable. And so, like you said, I sort of hail from Cincinnati, Ohio, but I was reared in the Washington, D.C. area and, of course, reside in Maryland now. But hanging out with my grandmother, and then who is a licensed cosmetologist, and my mother, who is also a licensed cosmetologist, it was just one of those things where hair, skin, and nails were always the topic of discussion. And so as, again, a third-generation beauty consultant, I found myself even in the ladies' room during my lunch break, at various times during my my day in the federal government, a lot of women would always ask me, Elise, what do you do for your skin? How do you keep it nice? What should I do? Can you do a makeover for me? I've got some photo shoot or a wedding or just an evening affair. And I found myself just giving out the information and consulting. And then it occurred to me that a small business was in the making, and that as a researcher, as a person who embraces health and wellness, things started to fall in place. And
Okay.
so with that, Skincare Fitness God's Way was birthed.
Wow. Okay, that's very exciting because I was gonna ask, and you kind of touched on it. That people in the federal government were asking you, so you must have phenomenal. And I'm looking at your picture now, and I think you have phenomenal skin. I think we all would love to have like beautiful skin, but as a professional, and in your travels of when you were given like your seminars and things like that, what were some of the challenges that people have kind of relayed to you, and why they weren't really taking care of their skin? I mean, you can kind of elaborate on some of the reasons that people did they even think about it, or or they just didn't have time, or things like that.
Okay. Well, knowledge is certainly power. And of course, I'm taking the biblical approach to skincare. And so, skincare fitness is all about parlaying biblical principles with everyday skincare tips, routines, hints, tricks. Okay. And what I found was there's a spiritual prescription, and this is elitism, to most of what happens to us in the natural. And you mentioned integrated approach to skincare. And so I look at things from the inside out. And what I concluded is that people just lack the information, and so they don't realize or didn't realize that whatever I eat, usually 3 days later, it's going to show up on my skin. And so if I put bad food or unclean food in, meaning foods that are high in saturated fats and a lot of unhealthy food colorings and just carbs that are not necessarily beneficial, then those would give rise to blemishes and a lot of splotchiness, uneven complexions. And conversely, if we eat clean, where we're getting a lot of fruits and vegetables, then that would make the difference. So when people understood that there's a direct connection to what I consume and the quality of my skin, then they were able to make some changes. But the other impediment, too, is it's a little difficult to undo bad behaviors. And so if we're accustomed to not getting the daily pollutants off of our faces that we pick up throughout our day, and then the recirculated air in the offices, and we sleep on that, then, of course, it's going to cause problems. And so we live beneath the privilege that we have because we just don't know what to do.
Okay, so let me just take just a step back for just clarity. So you mentioned that you kind of take a biblical approach. So in addition to what you were saying as far as like the right foods and making sure that we are aware of the things that may affect us going down the line, because obviously what we eat today, well, we don't think about how it's going to affect us later. So how do you tie in the biblical aspect? I mean, are there areas of the Bible that kind of helps us reinforce good habits, or I'm just want to make sure that I understand the tie-in between what you're saying and the biblical approach.
Okay, excellent question. So when I utilize the term integrated approach or inside-out approach, the guiding scripture that I zero in on is John 15:5, where Jesus is speaking, and he says, I am the vine, and you are the branches. And he who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. So when he says, I'm the vine, you are the branches. So there's that connectivity. There's that integrated approach. And I realize, oh, okay, that from a spiritual perspective, we're only as powerful as we stay connected to our Creator. And so that jumped out at me, and I thought, okay, so it's a relationship. So we have this inside out approach. And then I looked at Genesis 1:29, and in Genesis 1:29 we get the blueprint for the way the Creator intended for his children to eat. So, of course, Adam and Eve in the garden, God tells them, here's what I want you to eat. And if you notice, it was fruits and vegetables, nuts and grains. They had a plant-based diet. So although as we fast forward, you had the flood, and then, of course, all of the vegetation was destroyed. So meat eating was introduced, but equivalent with that was the shortening of man's lifespan. So if we go back to the Creator's original intent, we find that from a scientific research perspective, it shows that people who subscribe to a plant-based diet tend to live 10 years plus longer than those who consume meats on a regular basis. Now, I'm not a doctor, therefore I can't give medical advice. But in my research, this is what I've found. And there are other scriptures that speak to health and the mind-body connection between what I eat, how I look, how I feel, how I think. And I think this kind of segues into my skincare fitness 10 commandments, where I look at principles like hydration. How much water do we get? Oxygenation. How much oxygen do you get into your bloodstream so that your face is radiant and you have sort of this glow? There's an athlete's glow. And then there's detoxification. How do we detox our skin from the inside out? Do we add lemons? And then, of course, go on down the line. Jubilation. How much laughter do we get? Are you able to just conjure up a laugh, and I have a little segment in my presentation where the ladies and I, we just laugh, because laughter works like medicine according to Proverbs 17:22. And so when we look at a spiritual prescription, oftentimes diabetes, well, perhaps we violated the laws of health when it comes to certain Western culture diseases. I believe that if we subscribe to a biblical way of living, because the word also says, I would that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. So there's a connection. And so that is very essential. And then, of course, we look at detoxification, mastication. How am I chewing my food for better absorption from the nutrients? How do I do I look at eating as an act of worship, where I take my time and I'm thankful, and as a result of chewing my food, taking my time, the nutrients are better absorbed. That's going to give rise to better looking skin. Am I cognizant of how many fruits and vegetables I'm getting? Do I know what face foods are? How much water content are in the foods that I eat? Because all of that's going to impact the quality of my skin as well as my thinking. So if I'm eating right, I'm going to think right. I'm going to want to take care of my skin because I'm going to see the benefits.
I love that. I love that. If you eat right, you would think right, and you'll take care of your skin. That is very powerful. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I never really put the connection that way. I never even thought of that. And I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of listeners here that's going to hear this podcast and they're going to say, wow, I never thought of making that type of connection, of what, the word was says about food in general and how that comes, you know, outside, your skin and how you think it, and you kind of went down, which I loved, you kind of went down the whole entire scheme of it's not just your skin, it's everything. It's how you digest your food, it's how you take care of yourself and really recognize what you really should be eating. And I think a lot of people, we've all had our diets, even myself. I've actually kind of lay back off of eating red meat and eating more fruits and vegetables. And I have noticed some differences in my skin, but I never really thought of the two together. And I find that very, very interesting. And I want to know more about it. I want to know more. So, what are some of the other things that you help people with in terms of, in addition to what you've already told us here?
Okay. So I believe, so let me just get back to the Asians because it's one of those things where the hydration is essential. Our bodies are 70% water. We should drink half of our body weight in ounces. So if I weigh 100 pounds divided by 2, I should perhaps try to strive to get 50 ounces of water. Water really is the fountain of youth. And in the Bible, Jesus likened himself to water. He says, I am the living water. And I thought, wow, how powerful is that? Because we need water to function. But if you've ever had a plant that was dehydrated and it just looked wilted, and then you poured water, and the next day it was, like, hello, and all it needed was the proper hydration. So hydration is essential to great-looking skin. And then, of course, oxygenation. All of us can't get out and run, but there are deep breathing techniques that we can employ that will get that oxygenated blood flowing upward to our faces. And then there's restoration. Most of us are sleep deprived. How much sleep are we getting? Because sleep, there's truth to beauty sleep, and that a lot of things happen when we're in rapid eye movement sleep. So restoration, relaxation, and then, of course, meditation. Do I just unplug from all of my devices? Do I spend time just in what I call mindful creator awareness? Am I grateful? Am I ungrateful? So the meditation, we just come aside. Now, we're talking about skincare because everything that we do impacts the quality of how we look, impacts the quality of our skin. And then, of course, under detoxification, you have mastication, you have elimination. Are we eliminating, or are the toxins just putrefying in our digestive system? And most people will tell you in the health and wellness arena that death starts in the colon. But if I'm eliminating, then my skin is going to be clearer. I'm not going to have as many pimples and blemishes and outbreaks. And then, of course, jubilation. We want to get those endorphins in our bloodstream. And so for me, I actually practice laughing because it burns calories. It gets the endorphins and the serotonin and all of the healthy hormones flowing in my body. Well, that shows up on my countenance, as well as inspiration. What do you adore? What moves you? How are you inspired? Because we're talking about positive thinking, positive behavior, so that we have a total, we're not just focusing on building muscles and lean body mass, but we're talking about my whole being being impacted by everything good and positive. So inspiration. And all of this leads to transformation. So I can go from good to great or bad to worse just by being deliberate. And we know that what we do on a daily basis creates habits, and then our habits create our character. So the objective for Skincare Fitness God's Way is that my ladies and gentlemen will look at their entire being as an instrument for all things good, all things positive, all things healthy. And so after the transformation, we're looking at salvation. Am I connected with heaven? Because when someone sees me and they admire my skin and they say, well, Elise, what is the secret to your success? Well, yes, I do all of these other things in the natural realm, but I am connected with my Creator via prayer and meditation. So really the best kept secret for healthy looking skin is a spiritual prescription.
Again, I just never really thought about connecting the two in that way. It's just really incredible how you really broke it down and came full circle to it's not just everything, it's everything plus, if that makes sense, everything plus. And as a professional, I know for I will do like my little skin regimen, but I don't think about the food that I intake that impacts my skin. I'm probably the least person you would think that take care of my skin. I think I'm lucky, however, that I have pretty good skin, but at the same time, what am I really doing to maintain it? Not much. So I would just say for somebody who's working well, okay, so let's just break it down for us professionals. What are some of the tips or advice that you would give us to, like, if we're working like super busy schedules,
Mm-hmm.
and we all do, what are some of the quick things you can give us, like the top 3 quick things that we could do to help with our skin? Eating right is one of them, but if there's like a method or a technique or something we could do or that takes like 5 minutes,
Sure.
you know, that we could do.
Exactly. So I have something called cleanse, treat, eat. That's sort of in a nutshell. Cleanse, treat, eat. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we cleanse our skin 2 times a day, just like brushing. We're encouraged to, embrace dental hygiene. So we're going to brush our teeth twice a day. We should cleanse our skin twice a day. We're going to cleanse it in the morning, and we're going to cleanse it at night. And we're going to especially focus on the nighttime regimen because that's the one that's going to facilitate anti-aging and help with staving off signs of aging, wrinkles and crow's feet and marionette lines around the mouth. So cleanse your skin. Get the day's junk and gunk off. Cleanse your skin in the morning, in the nighttime. You do not want to use soap. You want to get a mild cleanser, something that is sort of germane to your skin type. If you know that you're dry, oily, or combination, you like to get a cleanser that corresponds with your type of skin. Treat, I like using a toner. A toner can add moisture for those that are dry, and then you can get an astringent. If you're a little oily during the summertime, we tend to get a little oily because of the heat. But that second step is my insurance and assurance that my face is clean. So I get a little cotton ball, put a little toner on it. After I cleanse it, go over my skin, look at it. Oh, my word, I didn't get all the dirt. Well, any dirt that's on your skin, when you do your third step, moisturizing, will trap that dirt into your skin. The little dirt will embed itself in your pores, and lo and behold, before you know it, you've got some outbreaks or blemishes. So you want to cleanse your skin. You want to get that cotton ball with the toner, go over it. After that, you're going to do a quick moisturizer. And I look at the face in 4 zones. I call them the 4 facial zones, so that each part of your face gets a little bit of attention. So from your forehead to the to your eyebrows, that's zone 1, your forehead and your temple area. So you're going to spend a couple of seconds just cleansing that area. Then you're looking from your brow down to the tip of your nose. That's zone 2. That's your eye zone. That one's very sensitive. The skin in that area is very thin, so you don't want to do too much manipulating, but you also want to get zone 2. Zone 3 is from the underneath your nose where your Cupid's bow is to your chin. That's zone 3. You want to make sure that you're spending at least 10 seconds doing those zones. Zone 4 from your neck and chest, because oftentimes we don't even include that. And you've seen people whose faces look phenomenal. However, their neck shows that it's been neglected. So we want to include the neck and chest. So you're going to cleanse your skin, tone your skin. You're going to put the moisturizer on, and then you're going to put your eye cream on. Eye cream is essential. And there's a technique for doing that. You use your ring finger. You're going to go from the outward in and just pat, pat, pat. And then you're all set. So, of course, the eat part, cleanse, treat, eat, you're always eating for healthy-looking skin. You're always eating for wellness. You're always eating for mental clarity. And that should do it. The other thing, too, is always remember that signs of aging show up around the eye area, the neck, and the backs of your hands. You can always tell a lady's or gentleman's age by looking at their hands. So you want to emphasize those 3 areas. If you are at a loss, you're like, okay, eye area, treat, eye cream, neck, upward, outward strokes, and then the backs of your hands. And then the other thing, too, is, and the wonderful thing about putting lotion on our hands is that there are reflexology principles where all of the nerve endings in all of my organs or the systems of my body end up can be found in my hands and feet. So when I'm putting lotion on my hands, it turns into a health and wellness experience because I'm able to impact the nerve endings that correspond with my lungs, my heart, my head, if I have migraines. So it's all intricately connected, and I just marvel at how we have so much control over our appearance, and we just need the information. Hopefully
Right.
that helps. So,
Yeah, it does. Now, what about for our men? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of men are listening, like, I'm not putting eye cream on. Okay. So what for our gentlemen? Are there like specific things that they can use, or are there products out there that men can use for their face as well? We don't
yes.
want to forget about them.
No, absolutely. Okay. So, because skin is skin, men have skin, women have skin, and we're going to age. Therefore, men should also spend time cleansing their skin. So the same products, now there are products out there for men, but you can go to CVS or Walmart or any other store that sells skincare products, and just sort of the ABC of it, you could get a cleanser by Olay or L'Oreal, or you can find out what your wife is using. But
Yeah,
men
so they can do
should,
the
in
same.
fact, cleanse their skin too and have a skincare regimen. There's
Yeah.
nothing feminine about taking care of your skin. And because the same way that we shower and bathe, that's not gender specific. We
Right.
all get in the shower. So therefore, all of what we've discussed, it's not gender specific. It's actually gender neutral, because I think we should live in the best skin that we can. Now, men, the brothers may not be excited about putting on eye cream, but know that there's nothing feminine about putting on eye cream if you recognize that you're struggling with dark circles or bags and puffiness. And then, of course, there's a technique where there's a lymph system. Oftentimes, if we eat a lot of foods that are high in sodium, we swell or we retain moisture. Something as simple as pressing the palms of your hands across your face where there's puffiness can move that lymph, that fluid, down the sides of your throat, and immediately you're less puffy. So if the men aren't interested in necessarily embracing a full bloom or full, fledged skincare regimen, there's still things that they can do. But I just wholeheartedly encourage men to also take care of their skin because we do want to age gracefully. And I challenge my women. Beauty is not about. Okay, my definition of beauty is not founded in anything that has to do with vanity and being the belle of the ball or competition or things like that. It has to do with humility and who I am on the inside. But what we're talking about are health and wellness principles that men and women can embrace. And if, in fact, so I challenge my ladies, if you can look 10 years your junior, then that's a blessing. So if you're 70 years old, gentlemen, and you look 60 because you've been taking care of your skin, because you've been eating right, because you hydrate, because it's in the forefront of who you are and a lifestyle, then I think that's a wonderful thing. And so for the gentlemen, yes, you can go down the aisle. There are products made for men. I know that Mary Kay also makes products for men and women. And get your skincare regimen going, too, because it's about aging gracefully.
That is beautiful. That's beautiful. Because I kind of wanted to point that out because I know we talk about ladies and beauty, but I also want men to know that they are beautiful too. And like you said, this is not about a gender thing. It's just making sure that men are included. Everybody's included because we all have skin, and just like Elise said, it encompasses the entire body, and also knowing how that connects to the creator, which I find very, very fascinating. And I definitely would like to know more about that. And so, Elise, I know you have some services that you would like to provide for people. So if listeners, if you would like Elise to give you a special regimen, or if you want to connect with her, she's going to tell you how.
Yes, how you can find me, absolutely. And let me just back up, and because to fail to emphasize the importance of using a sunscreen during the
Oh
summer months
yeah, yes.
would be just to leave a gaping hole in my presentation. And so, men and women, skin cancer doesn't discriminate. So if you can get a sunscreen, wear your sunscreen because it is going to protect us. And a lot of times we as people of color don't think that we need the protection. However, the ozone layer, the UVB and UVA rays are all very damaging, and so it is essential that we wear sunscreen not only during the summer but around the clock. And for those of us that, or for those that, it's one of those you can't go wrong with protecting yourself from the environmental detriments that we are experiencing in our Western culture. If you want to get a hold of me, again, my name is Elise Littles. I can be reached at my phone number is 301-710-8349, or at Elise Littles, ALISE, Littles, LITTLES, one word, at Comcast.net. And at that point, we can talk about skincare classes, seminars, women's or men's ministry conferences, one-on-one, personal interactions. I do presentations for civic organizations, seniors, our youth, teenagers, and I'm excited about what I'm doing, and I thank you so much for this forum and for all the work that you do to help small businesses get on the radar screen, because truly it takes a village, and you are just an amazing woman chief.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And Elise, it's been definitely a pleasure having you on this podcast, because every time I do one of these things, I am really amazed about the level of talent that we have on this podcast. It is tremendous. And I just can't stress the importance of information sharing and supporting all levels of small businesses. So please take a moment, everybody, to thank Elise for being on this podcast, and also check out some of the other segments that we have in all the different areas. And please reach out to the small businesses if you feel the need that you can connect with one of them. If you can't connect with anyone, just definitely connect with me. I'll put you in touch with them, Elise. And as usual, you can see all of her contact information at the bottom of this recording. And if you want to also be on this podcast later on, please contact me at infoservices@ALSTNTEC.com. Elise, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
You're very welcome, and thank you so much for having me.